Welcome to the Moms Who Know podcast, the podcast for moms who want to take care of themselves so they can take better care of everyone else. This episode is sponsored by my program, Mind Body Transformation. If you want simple strategies for lifelong health, you'll definitely want to check out this program. Visit momswhoknowpodcast.com to get all the details. Hello and welcome to the Moms Who Know podcast. I'm your host, Chanel Nielsen, and my guest today is Liz Martin. Liz, thank you for being on the call.
Thank you for having me.
I am excited to talk to you. So Liz is the creator of Tangle Pets, which you've probably heard of. And if you haven't, you're going to get to learn a little bit more about that today. Liz has been a guest on Shark Tank. And most importantly, she is a mama of 4 girls and a birth mom to another girl. So she is a proud girl mom, which I love. I'm sure it's a lot different than things over at my house. I would hope a lot cleaner. And I know you don't have the bathroom problems that we have, the boy bathroom going on.
No.
Consider yourself lucky.
I am one of those moms. I am painted in pink everywhere. Everything is pink, I have to say.
Yes.
So, probably not as much pink at your house.
No, not at all. I have one girly girl though, and she gets it all in where she can, but
there we go.
Not so much. So I love it because you're a girl mom and you saw a problem with brushing your girl's hair. And so I want to just start there in how you came up with your idea for Tangle Pets.
Yeah, no, I had 2 girls. So my oldest actually has, sensory wise, she's very sensitive. She has been since birth, pretty much. She won't wear certain clothes. I fought it for a long time and then I kind of just embraced it, because it was a fight every day. And so hair was one of those things that was incredibly difficult to the point where I was cutting her hair, because she wouldn't let me brush it. And so, I cut her hair and then she'd want it long. So that whole battle. And so it literally came about when I had my 2 girls and then I had a baby, but wasn't having to deal with her yet, but I knew I was going to. And it was honestly one day where, they would not come into the bathroom to do that. I remember the day. That's the funny thing, because it was like a boiling point for me where I'm trying to get ready and I just remember thinking, this is not what I envisioned. Like, I just have that picture of the mom brushing the daughter's hair. That's quality time. You're laughing. You're like brushing their hair and singing. That was not happening, like, ever. And so I went into the room and they were playing with these little, stuffed animals, and they're sitting there and I'm like, get in the bathroom. And they're just like, no, I don't want to. And so luckily I have this fun mom moment, which is kind of rare sometimes, and so I grab one of their little stuffed animals that they weren't playing with in that moment. I snuck around the corner. Very, it was very morbid. I did shove a brush in it. I did. I slit its stomach. I shoved a brush in it. And then I hopped it around the corner and was like, hey, everybody, who wants to brush their hair? And they lost their mind. They were they jumped up, they came into the bathroom. They're bringing me their other stuffed animals. They're like, put a brush in this one. And so, I totally Dr. Frankensteined 5 of their stuffed animals. And so that's honestly how it came to be. So in my house, total game changer that day. It just then became which one am I going to use today? And that as a mom, and I think a lot of people can connect with this, it was such a win. You know what I mean? It's just saving that one, just sob fest, it's just one less thing that I have to fight with them about. So it's one of my best days ever, as silly as that sounds.
No, that's awesome though. Just total boom. You knew what to do. Did you think it would work? Were you just hoping for the best, or you're oh, I'm onto something?
I have to tell you, in the moment, it was so you just have those things as parents. I think we just have those moments of exhausted brilliance, I call it, where it's there's nothing to lose at that point, right? I'm well, this is either going to work or I'm just going to shave their head. So I didn't know, but I knew the minute their reaction was so different And what's been really fun since then is talking to parents who have had the exact same experience with Tangle Pets that say, you know, I bought your product. I thought it was kind of like, oh, well, we'll try this. And they're like, total game changer. And I'm like, right? Total game changer. So it's fun. It's fun to watch your kids see a stuffed animal in a brush. It's everyone's got to try it.
Yeah. So funny because I think, you know, it's one of those things that you hear the idea like a stuffed animal brush, like what will they come up with next, you know?
Absolutely.
Like,
Oh, I got
yeah.
that. Yeah. Yeah. I got that. A lot of friends and family were like, how are you doing? Are you okay? Like when I told them I was like going forward in production with it, you know, I had a lot of like, hey, Liz, just checking in to see how you're doing. You know?
Right, because it's kind of one of those things that is almost too simple. And then yet on the other hand, like brilliant. It makes
Yeah.
hairbrushing fun. Like it makes sense, but almost like, what? How would that make sense? You know? So I can see kind of both sides of it. Now, so I love it. You're in the bathroom, you have this breakthrough, you get to brush your girl's hair. So when did it go from just like, hallelujah, I can now brush my girl's hair without a fight to, you know, I think I'm onto something here.
Yeah. Well, it was really, the timing was nothing. It was a coincidence, right? Like God is awesome. But but I'll use the word coincidence because that's a word that we can connect with. My job was ending. I was working with the school, getting it filled. I was the registrar, but it was a job that was going to end because once the school was filled, you know what I mean? Anyway, so I was already, exactly. So I was already looking for, what I was going to do next as far as income. So it wasn't that long after that I thought I previously had sold kid moccasins. I had found a, manufacturer literally by Googling because I saw these baby moccasins for my kids and I didn't want to pay $60. And so I thought, well, someone should be able to make these cheaper. And so I literally Googled Chinese manufacturer. I had a bunch of girlfriends that were in the same boat as I, where they were like, we love these shoes. Long story short, we put together an order and I sent it to this Chinese manufacturer and said, can you make these shoes? Yes. And so anyway, so I'd kind of already gotten my feet wet as far as Chinese manufacturing. So I sent, that manufacturer an email and he actually put me in contact with a woman who he thought could make me one of those. And I just thought, you know, maybe they can help me make a few and I'll just sell them to friends and family, like the moccasins. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And so that's actually how that started. It was very funny though, because, you know, they would ask for, oh my gosh, I don't even know the word now. They would ask me for, like, well, do you have any, you know, samples or what kind of fabric do you want? And I would literally just send them pictures of like, the stuffed animals that I wanted it to be that material and be like, make it out of whatever this is made out of. Like, it was totally amateurish and I'm drawing like freehand. I had this incredible girl draw me up some animals that I knew I wanted. And so, that's honestly how I was working with that. I didn't really know how I was going to sell them, but I knew like via Facebook and like farmers markets. I just kind of knew that it was a good enough idea that I could make a couple $1,000s, you know, and I just thought this will be great. It'll get me through it a couple months and then we'll just see where it goes. At that point, I didn't have like the grand scale of things. I really just kind of thought I can have 1,000 of these made and I'll sell them, you know?
So that was your initial, just like a few. Now,
Yeah.
I read somewhere online that, and maybe this is the next part, that to kind of get to the next level, you went on a game show to get money to invest in Tangle.
Well, so this is the funny thing. So they made me 30, and that cost me like a couple $100, and they brought them back, or they sent them to me, and they were incredible. Like, and that's when people started seeing the vision, is once they saw the final, because the first one I ever made was terrifying. It was like, kids loved it, but adults were like, I don't know what that is, but you can't bring it in our house. So,
Right.
But, so by the time I got the prototypes back, I was like, okay, I think this is like a really good idea. At that point, we were living paycheck to paycheck. My husband had actually started showing symptoms. He ended up being diagnosed with a rare brain disorder. And so things were just kind of getting weird. And so my sister called me and said, oh my gosh, Pyramid is, coming back and they're hiring contestants. And I thought, okay. And I put it to God. I was like, listen, I'm gonna apply for this game show. If I get on and I win, I feel like that's you telling me I should go for this. I remember having that conversation. I'm like, because that would be crazy. And so that's a yes. That's a yes for me. And, so I want to give all the credit to like the producers that got me on the show and the game show itself and the celebrities that helped me win the money. But long story short, I got on the game show and I won $50,000. So it was like, it was totally, it was very surreal, very fun experience. And everyone should try out for a game show at least one time in their life because it is a lot of fun. and I can totally help you. I totally think I've got it.
Okay.
Down. Yeah.
We're going to have to talk tips later because that sounds fun. I've done The Price is Right, which you don't try out. You just wait all day. And then if you're lucky, they call you up out of the audience, which is still fun, but it's not the same as knowing you're going to be on it, which sounds like a lot more fun.
It is. They definitely it's a process. And then they make sure that you're wearing the right thing and, all that jazz. But yeah, it was so much fun. And I got to meet Kathy Najimy is like one of my favorite actresses. So I got to work with her and she's actually the person who won me the money. So that was like a really fun experience.
Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you get this money, $50,000. So I'm surprised that it was that much, honestly, because I don't know anything. That just seems like, oh, now you're good to go. Like, then you don't need Shark Tank, right?
Right. Well, so
what led to that?
That was the crazy. So once again, here's once again one of those quote coincidences. Literally, this is kind of crazy how this worked out. The day we got our check for the $50,000 was literally, it was a Tuesday, was the same day we found out my husband would be undergoing brain surgery. And with that, there would be about a 4 to 6 month recovery of like no work. And at the time he worked in he golfed for work. And so no golfing for a year. And so in that moment, Tangle Pets seemed like it was dead in the water because I was like, okay, we're going to take this 50,000. We're going to just live off of it for this year. We'll just get by. Recovery was going to be a process. We've got 3 kids. So I had kind of assumed that we needed to put it on the back burner. I'm grateful for my husband at the time. He said, he was like, yes, we can live off of it. I still think you should put some into Tangle Pets because I think it's a great idea. So we did take about 10,000, and we did the patent and we got that first shipment of 2,500 Tangle Pets. So we didn't use all the 50,000, of course. We literally lived off of that for the next year so that I could be at home with the kids and be doing Tangle Pets. But I just have to give him a shout out because not a lot of people would have the total confidence. That's a confidence booster when somebody says like, I trust the product enough for you to go for it, rather than no, let's just be safe and we'll try again next year. So that was really cool. So we were able to get a little, but you're absolutely right. At that point I knew, and I didn't know Shark Tank. I still didn't know Shark Tank. It wasn't until January. So this all happened around October. It wasn't until January when I saw that Shark Tank was coming to Vegas. I was 5 hours away in Arizona. And I just thought, why wouldn't I go? Like, why wouldn't I? What's the worst that's going to happen? So I packed all the kids in the car and we drove to Vegas. I dropped them off at my cousin's house for the day. And I literally said, I'm going to go audition for Shark Tank. And they're like, yeah. Okay. Have fun, you weirdo. So the best part about this story is I show up and it's actually, they were having their auditions at the electronics show. So every other inventor there has like a drone, like a bathtub that sings to you. Like I literally walk in with that. I thought this is so cool. I got a pet carrier from a friend who had a dog and I'd stuffed it with Tangle Pets. And so I walk in and there's all these like drones flying around and like robots walking and people like they're looking at me and they're like, oh, and they're like waiting for this robot dog to walk out. I'm like pulling out these little hairbrushes and most of them are men. So they're going, so does it turn on? And I'm like, no, it's a hairbrush. So yeah, I definitely, nobody was intimidated by me that day. Nobody was asking me how I got to where I was that day. They were all like, they were patting me on the head going, "Oh, you're cute." But I knew,
little did they know it was a secret weapon there.
Yep. I literally spent the entire time in line listening to Katy Perry's Fireworks and just visualizing Lori calling me and being like, let's do this. I spent probably 2 hours singing Fireworks at the top of my lungs and having made up conversations with Lori Greiner. That's what I did.
So, okay. And specifically her.
Oh yeah. I knew I wanted Lori from the get-go. I really did.
Okay. Why did you want to work with her specifically?
I'm a big fan of the show. I knew the product was right in her wheelhouse. And also energetically, I followed her on Instagram and Twitter a little bit before, because I think you can tell a lot about somebody just by their social media. Not everything, but just kind of the things they choose to focus on. And I found that she is one of those people that always really tries to stay positive, and she doesn't really get like great joy in being like, you don't get anything for free. She's more like, the world is bountiful and everything is for us, And so right. I would say that that's definitely more my energy. And so I knew that I was going to annoy the other sharks. As I started to get along the process and knowing I was going to be on the show, I absolutely mentally prepared for the other 4 sharks to hate my guts, because I knew that my lack of experience, my lack of sales, and my obnoxious optimism, I knew that was like, that was like blood for them. It's like they're right. ready to pounce. So I just knew that she would be the one that I would connect with.
At the point when you went on Shark Tank, did you have any sales?
I had sold, so out of the 2,500, so I'd gotten 2,500. I think I had 8,000 in sales, but I had been selling since, and I had been selling for a little under a year, but yeah, I had about 8,000 in sales. Mind you, 8,000, like, thank you, friends and family, because that's who bought Tangle Pets. So
right.
I have some family members that literally own 75 Tangle Pets. So
that's awesome. Okay. Yeah. They're the ones who are going to other kids' birthday parties and they're like, oh, we know what we're getting this time. It's a Tangle Pet, right?
Yes,
they're just,
exactly.
Stocked up for every holiday, every birthday.
They are still giving those away.
Yes. So, okay. So you hadn't done much, as far as sales. So that's pretty different for Shark Tank, right? Like most of the people come in there having kind of a business model. Or no, I don't. I've watched it a few times, but it's been a while. So kind of fill me in.
You're exactly right. I definitely think, I always joke that I willed my way in. Like nobody is really sure how I got on because, only because usually it's either they have a great idea with a great patent, and they're pre-sale, but they've got this great plan. And do you know what I mean? They've started other successful businesses, so they have the reputation, or like you said, they've had a lot of sales. I think every once in a while, someone like me does get to sneak in. And that's, I think, what people need to understand, especially those who are interested in ever wanting to be on Shark Tank. There's 2 processes. The first part is, are you good TV? Are you a story that they want to tell? Are you somebody that people want to watch on TV, whether you're a villain or a good guy? Do you know what I mean? Are you somebody that people are going to want to sit there and watch for 10 minutes? And so the first round of auditions, yes, they care about your product. It needs to be there, but they're more interested in you. And so I knew that that's where I had to shine. So I was I just worked really hard. I practiced my speeches. I made sure that my answers were incredibly well thought out. I would literally practice interviewing. And so I think that I impressed producers so much just in my performance that I figured, just get me in the tank and God will do the rest, because I knew, like I said, I knew I was going to get slaughtered based on my sales. And it actually does come up in the in my episode. We went into it more in depth. They edit it. It's obviously you're in there for an hour and 30 minutes, and then they have to edit it down to 15 minutes. But actually at one point I got attacked for that. They're like, you come in here with no sales and then and I just said to them, I said, listen, I understand that. I know who I am, which is why I have to be obnoxiously overly over the top right now so that you'll remember me, so that America will remember me, because I know I have a good product. Do you know what I mean? I just haven't gotten the sales. You know, I've been busy taking care of 3 kids and a husband, and that's not an excuse. It's just the reality. So they ended up really liking that answer. And I think I got a little more credit, you know, but absolutely it was not the norm. They definitely usually like, much more, groomed business, if that makes sense.
No, it totally does. I mean, they're business people, right? And so
Yes.
that is what they're looking at. But that makes it even more, you know, amazing that you were able to do that. And I also love the strategy behind it, that you kind of went in there knowing that and like, okay, this is my strength. This is what I have. I have me and I have my product. And so you're going to work on, you know, yourself and all those things you can do to make up. And honestly, that's what they can do, right? They've got
Yes.
the sales background. They can do that for you. So, anything else you want to share with us about that experience of being on Shark Tank?
I think it was a great testimony to what you just said. For me, this whole experience has really taught me to really value the skills that I have. And obviously it put a lot of light on the weaknesses and the insecurities. And instead of me trying to pretend that those didn't exist, it forced me to overcome them. It forced me to look at them. It forced me to get more organized. And so I just would say that I'm grateful I did it. It was a super fun experience, but it was also incredibly humbling and self-esteem building, if that makes sense. Like, I think that anytime you do something that's so big, because that was big for me, you know, there's times I feel like a fraud. You know, I think we all feel this way where it's like, I don't know what I'm doing here, you know, but
yeah, totally.
But I also think it really showed my weakness in that. And I want to say this to anybody out there. It's like, but why not you? You know, I think so many times we limit ourselves. But it's like, but somebody has to be on Shark Tank, but somebody has to be a millionaire, but somebody has to have an incredible podcast. Why not you? What is it that you're holding yourself back? And so it really taught me to stop limiting myself. And so I remember talking to a friend the other day and I said, oh my gosh, you should get this on Good Morning America. And she was like, okay, Liz. And I thought, stop. And I literally said to her, stop. I'm serious. Why not you? You know, and I think we have to stop. I don't think that's what life's about. Don't get me wrong. I freaking love being a mother every day. Do you know what I mean? I like the monotony. I like chilling. But when you do want to do something big, why not? And I think ever since Shark Tank, I have a newfound almost playfulness with life where I'm like, dude, go for it. Like, get on Shark Tank. So,
Yeah.
So I'm really grateful for that experience. And I would push anyone to, you know, to do the same. Go for it.
I love that. That's just, it's about not playing small, right?
Yes.
It's about not limiting yourself and saying, Good Morning America would never want me.
Yeah.
Or like you said, why not you? Who am I to start a podcast? Who am I to, you know, there's that quote. It's Marianne Williamson. It's on my wall.
Oh, I love her. I love her.
Yeah. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. And then it says, who am I to be brilliant, talented, all these things? Actually, who are you not to be? That just goes along perfectly with what you're saying. I mean, that is what we're here to do. We're here to shine. We're here to grow. We're here to try new things. And so I love that you stepped out and did it and made it happen. And, you know, honestly, even if you hadn't won, right? Even if you hadn't won on the pyramid, even if you hadn't gotten through on Shark Tank and had them pick you up and, you know, work with your product, how much growth came from just doing it?
Yep.
Just
absolutely
preparing for it, just going there. So that's awesome. You know, and all the steps along the way, just like, I have this idea and I'm going to go for it. And so that's very cool.
And I think I want people to know too, in my 20s, this is not the first time I've tried for big things. I mean, I've always had this kind of delusion of my brother and sister make fun of me. If I want to be an artist, I say I'm an artist and I create art and I put it up on my wall and people come over and I'm like, look at my art. You know, and my brother's like, oh my gosh, you're ridiculous. And so it's funny because in my 20s, I remember one experience when you were just talking, I applied for this on-air job hi, honey. I applied for this on-air job to be a reporter. And I remember I didn't get it. And so bad, not only did I not get it, they called me, said I got it, and then called me back and said, oh, sorry, we didn't mean to we didn't mean to give it to you. And so I've had a lot of experience with going for big things and not getting them. And so I never want anyone to think like, oh, well, she just tries something and she just gets it. Absolutely not. I can think of 75 things I've tried and hilariously failed, but it definitely got me over the fear of, well, I don't want to try because then I'll fail. Because like you said, it's never really a failure. If you try, there's learning all along the way. And I think especially with entrepreneurship, you have to be okay. There's no bad feelings. There's no bad outcomes. Everything is learning. Everything is moving you forward. And you will not make it as an entrepreneur if you allow the first negative or the first, post without any likes, to stop you. It's like, oh, no, that's not a negative. That's just what is today. Today, nobody liked your product. Today, nobody bought your product. That's just a fact. It's not, does that make sense? I don't know. I don't want people, because I think sometimes people hear my story so linearly, like, oh, she went on a game show and got the money. And it's like, but there were a ton of things. I went to a trade show. I paid $400 to go to a trade show. The month before I got picked to go on Shark Tank, I paid $400. Guess how many Tangle Pets I sold that day? There was over 10,000 people. I sold 7. I sold 7 Tangle Pets that day. And more people came around and got annoyed with me that my product wasn't about pets. They were like, I thought this was a product to do with pets. And I'm like, well, it isn't. So stop being angry at me. And if I would have walked away from that event and then saw the Shark Tank audition and gone, well, but nobody likes my product. So, I mean, imagine I can't even imagine where I'd be today if I don't know. So I think that's also
You'd have
really
a large
important.
inventory of Tangle Pets in your garage, right?
Exactly.
You would be the one giving them away for birthday presents.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Mrs. Girls are coming. We know what we're going to get. Yeah.
Yep.
But I'm glad you shared that because I think that really it's such a good point. We see that so often. We only see the successes of other people. No one knows. I mean, without you having shared that, no one knows about the money you spent on the trade show and the real disappointing day you had when you sold 7 Tangle Pets. That's because that's not the big story. That's not the exciting thing. Right. You don't get invited to a podcast to tell us, Liz, the time that you sold 7 whole Tangle Pets.
Exactly.
Right? That doesn't happen. So when listeners, when we have that experience, we think, well, shoot, Liz Martin, that would have never happened to her, and yet it does. And that's just part of the process is failing along the way and then getting up and keeping on going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just knowing who you are. Anybody that knows me personally, there are so many things about me that I have to hire somebody to help me organize, and I have to help somebody to help me with money and time management. And I have a lot of flaws, and my house is a wreck. And I know people say that like cutesy and then they take a picture and there's like 4 things on there. No, I am like hoarder status messy after like a day with my children. And so I think you have to recognize we are all huge messes, but we all have huge potential and we have great days and we have great successes. And I think that the more we get comfortable with sharing with each other, oh yeah, I'm a total wreck, but look, I went on Shark Tank, and it's like, oh, that's awesome. And I want, that really is the message I want to share, that you don't have to be at a certain place with your kids or with your life or to have great moments and to have great experiences. You just have to try. You have to put yourself out there. I can't tell you all the things along the way with Shark Tank that were failing miserable in my life. Like you said, that's not why I'm being asked to be on podcasts. I can just tell you that they exist. They are there. Nobody's life is, and like you said, it's what we see. It's the Facebook, Instagram, like beautiful world, but it's not reality, And so you have to not, if you live moment to moment, you're allowed to let a bad moment exist only in that moment and then move to the next moment, which can be an incredible moment. It was in one moment that I was at Walmart stressed about how I was going to pay for my groceries. In that Walmart, I got the call to be on Shark Tank. So imagine having one, it's so cool to have those moments of like, I'm terrified of where we're going to be financially tomorrow. Oh my gosh, I'm going on Shark Tank, and that's the reality. So yeah, I think when we try and shoot for constant success, constant happiness, constant, I'm never a failure, it's unrealistic, and it's not reality. But not to Debbie down anyone. I mean, I'm almost always successful. Just kidding.
But right. I mean, that's the takeaway. You're successful because even in your failures, you keep going.
Yes.
Success, I'm sure there's a really good quote about that somewhere about success and failure, but it's not coming to me right now. But that's the whole idea. You fail, you keep going. That's what makes you a success, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
That could be a quote.
Well, and there's that cool thing where they talk about Lincoln with all his failures, right? It's like they talk about like the 75 things he failed at, but what do we hear? He was an incredible president. That's not what we know him for. We know him for.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, there's so many. Michael Jordan, I think, didn't make this sophomore basketball team or something like that.
Yes.
Like there's so many cool, there's a common theme, which we're all trying to tell people, like, listen, great things can happen to ordinary people. So it's exciting.
Yes. Totally. No, it is. Well, I'm excited for the work that you are doing and your attitude and to just see, this growth. I think it's inspirational I know it is for me and then for my listeners to hear, like, look at this, a mom with a dream and girls who need their hair brushed can do this and put this all together.
Yes.
And so, yeah, any last final thoughts that you would share with our listeners?
Yeah, I would just say, and I'm going to steal it from Mr. Rogers or Mr. Rogers' mom. It's like, find the helpers. Find, when you have an idea and you want to go do something, you'll be able to find people to talk you out of it. You're also going to be able to find people who are going to help you and who are going to, and who are going to build you up. And they exist everywhere. I remember when I first started Tangle Pets, I was talking to a lot of businessmen and because that was who I had around me about, patents and things like that. And they just kind of kept discouraging me. And then it wasn't until I talked to one guy that was just so kind and helpful. And from then on, I just decided, you know what? That's who I'm attracting. That's who I'm going to find. I can find people to knock me down, or I can find people to help me that want to help me. And so you're going to choose, you are who you are around. You are who you surround yourself with. So take a look around. And if everyone around you is telling you can't do things, well, yeah, that's probably what you're going to get. So I had to really shift my energy and who I brought into my product and who I had help me with Tangle Pets. And I can tell you, it was insane, the difference from when I took it from people who were scared and who went, well, I don't know. Well, I think it's a good idea to, we've got this. What are we doing? It's a total shift of energy. And it actually shifts into actual action, if that makes sense. I'm not saying it right, but it manifests into, well, getting on Shark Tank, going from 0 sales to getting a deal on Shark Tank. So it does matter who you surround yourself with. It does matter, the thoughts you have every day about yourself. And so that's really my message is, even if, you can't clean your house, you're tired, even if just your thoughts for that day are positive and self-motivating and just telling yourself, I'm awesome. Like, I can't clean the kitchen right now, but I'm awesome. That it eventually will manifest into awesome action. So that's my biggest takeaway. Yeah.
I love it. I think that is huge. It's a big one. And I think that, it starts with mindset, because how we think about ourselves, that is going to determine who we attract, like you said, and who we bring into our lives, and then who we listen to. Also, who we're willing to listen to. So,
yep.
Liz, thank you so much. I'm excited for you and to see kind of the future of Tangle Pets, and I'll keep following you and watching what you do. So even though I won't be my boys don't brush their hair. So,
I'll come up with something else. I'll come up with something else.
Yes. Okay. Maybe something for the boys' bathroom. I'm just going to put that out there. So, all right.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. And thanks everyone for listening to Moms Who Know. Liz is so much fun, isn't she? I can't wait to see what she comes up with next. I hope that you left that call inspired to try your own things and to go for it. I know that was really inspiring for me to just go out there and try and do it. I love the things that she had to say. I wanted to remind you all to visit the website, momswhoknowpodcast.com. You'll find show notes there, as well as some great free resources I've put together for moms. And I will see you guys next week on Moms Who Know.